it's Jessie here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. For today's video, we are going to be talking all about the budget for the last week in the month of February. We're talking all about the paycheck that my husband receives on February 23rd, as well as the paycheck I'm going to receive on the 22nd. This is my online income. So we're going to be doing an online income report, talking all about what I was able to bring in from YouTube. And we're going to talk about the bills we're going to pay and what we're going to do with that money. So I have here my mild liner. This is in the color red, pretty simple. And what we're going to do is we're going to highlight my husband's fourth paycheck in the month of February, and we're going to highlight all of the bills that we are going to pay with this. So we're going to skip ahead and we're going to pay the lot rent for March. That's due on the 1st. But because my husband gets paid on the 23rd, even though this bill happens in March, we're still using February's income to pay it. He doesn't get paid again until the 2nd of February, so this is going to tackle all of the bills between now and the 1st, as well as anything extra, because you guys know we're still trying to pay bills a little bit ahead. So with my husband's paycheck, we're going to tackle the lot rent, the water, the cable bill, as well as Audible, which is due on the 2nd of February. And with my pay from YouTube, I need to pull out my little blue mild liner that I have kind of made the color for that week. And if I could find it, this is what I get for not being prepared. There it is. We're going to tackle that paycheck, and with that we're going to pay Walmart and Lowe's. We're going to combine these two paychecks into just one paycheck bill tracker though, to make it a little bit easier. So we're going to flip to that now, and we're going to start writing out this budget. So this is, what did I just say? See, this is why I need to get my life together and be more organized. The paycheck for February 22nd and 23rd. So that will be my husband's paycheck, which we don't disclose how much he makes because he's not comfortable with that. So that is his paycheck number 4, and I'm just going to leave that blank. But I do talk a little bit about what I make on YouTube, because if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be making this money. And so, I don't know, it just feels nice to get on here and tell you guys what I was able to earn, and thank you all so much for watching my videos and clicking the like button and leaving comments. All of that contributes to this income. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I so appreciate that. So the way that YouTube pays is they pay through Google AdSense, and they pay for all of the ads that run on my videos. And so this income that we are talking about here is actually all of the income from the month of January. So they pay out on a little bit of a delay, so everything I earned in January is what we are talking about today. And the amount that I was able to earn is $371.89. So it's not a whole lot, but it is more than I ever dreamed I'd be able to make here on YouTube. I absolutely love filming and posting videos for you guys and chatting with you in the comments. So it's just like the icing on the cake, and I'm so, so grateful for all of you. Thank you so much for contributing to this. This money goes right into our budget to help pay down our debt and pay our bills and things, and I could not be happier with this. So thank you so much. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to writing out this budget. And as always, we start out by talking about the bills. So if you are not new to my channel, you will have heard this spiel before, but for anyone new, I'm just going to run through my sort of budgeting process. So under this bills category, I write anything that is going to be paid with my checking account. So any bills that I'm going to pay, if I'm going to put something on a credit card and then pay that credit card, that will go under bills, because we do use some credit cards and pay them off every week. I've talked about this before. Even though we are on a journey to pay down our debt, we do use some cards responsibly. We have balances on a lot of, or not a lot, but a few cards that we are actively trying to pay down that we've accumulated over the course of the last few years. But we also, like I said, use some cards responsibly so that we can reap the rewards. And so a lot of times we'll put something on a credit card and then immediately pay that credit card. That'll go under bills. Obviously our typical like electric bill goes here, and also our groceries, because we tend to order our groceries from the Walmart pickup, and obviously that requires us to pay with a card. So I keep my groceries under bills as well. A lot of the aspects of my budget I use cash for, and we'll talk about that excuse me, here shortly. But for the bills category, it's anything that's essentially not cash, that stays in my checking account and gets paid through there. So the first thing we're going to talk about is groceries. And you guys, my grocery spending has been off the rails lately. I have been significantly over budget the last couple of weeks. It seems like grocery prices in my area have gone sky high recently, and we also haven't been eating out. So in order to keep us from being tempted to eat out, I've been making a lot of new recipes and trying new things and having a lot of convenience food on hand, and so this has been out of control. So I thought about just upping my grocery budget overall. I actually did up my grocery budget for a couple of weeks and I was still over budget. So whenever I'm consistently over budget in a category, that tells me that I need to take a look at that category and figure out what's going on. Ultimately, what's going on is that I am trying to pay for too much with my grocery budget. It's just that simple. I'm trying to take $150 and buy food for the week for my family of 4. I'm trying to buy pet food. I'm trying to buy household cleaners and personal care items. And $150 just isn't enough for all of that anymore. It used to be, we used to do that real easily, but prices have gone up. We're eating a lot more at home than we used to, and it's just not realistic anymore. So rather than take this budget and hike it way up to kind of cover all of those things, instead what I'm going to do is start some sinking funds for things outside of groceries. And this grocery budget is going to be just for food for my family of 4 for the week. And we're going to try to stick with this $150 budget, but have this just cover our groceries. So when we get to the sinking fund category, I'll talk about the sinking funds we're going to be adding and what we're going to do to help offset this. But from now on, anything that I buy in this grocery category is going to be strictly groceries. Everything else will be given a new name, and I'll have money allotted for that elsewhere. So we'll see how this goes. If I can stick with $150 in food for the week, then I'll be happy. And if I'm still consistently going over this with it just being food, then we'll talk about raising this. But for now, we're going to stick with this $150. Excuse me. I hope that makes sense. That's what we're trying. I do a budget every week because my husband gets paid on a weekly basis. And so, I can try this out for a week or 2, and if it doesn't work out, I can always change it. That's the great thing about personal finance. It's personal. So that's what I'm planning for groceries. We'll see how it works. Next up, we're going to start writing in all of those bills that we highlighted at the start of the week. So we have Walmart, which is a minimum payment on a credit card. I've talked about this. We're on a debt-free journey. We pay the minimum payment on all of our cards, and then we send extra money to just one card at a time to really be laser focused and try to pay that card off. The card we're currently working on is a Discover card. I just posted a Debt Snowball update to tell you guys how we're doing with that and what our progress looks like. So if you missed that video, check it out. I'll link it in a card above. You're definitely going to want to see that because we've made great progress in February. So for Walmart, we're going to budget $135. That is the minimum payment on that card. Next up, we have Lowe's. Another minimum payment. This is my husband's Lowe's card. Not to be mistaken with my Lowe's card that we tackled last week. We paid the minimum payment on my Lowe's last week. This is this week. This is my husband's card. And the minimum payment for that, we're going to budget $95. Next up, we have March lot rent. My husband and I own our home. It's a mobile home. We've paid it off free and clear. We paid off our mortgage last spring. That was super exciting for us. But we live in a mobile home community. And so while we own the home, we rent the lot that it sits on. And that's not a situation that we love. It was what we could afford at the time when we were ready to move into our place. We love our home. We hate renting the lot. So hopefully someday we will be able to change this situation, but for now it is what it is, and we're paying $510 a month in lot rent, so that is what I will be budgeting for that. Next up, we have water. We pay our water and our lot rent at the same time, and for that I've budgeted $50. We also have cable through our mobile home community. They set up a package with our local cable company that allows us to get high-speed internet and cable TV for lower than what we were paying for just the internet. So it's a great deal. We don't really use the cable TV a whole lot, but I mean, it's cheaper than what we were paying before. So of course we jumped on this deal when it was offered to us. And we pay $65 a month for that, or at least that's what we budget. Whenever I sit down and write out my budget, I tend to estimate our income low and our bills a little bit higher, just so that we know we're covered. My husband is paid based on commission, so it's inconsistent income. He doesn't get the same amount every single week, and so we do a lot of estimating high with our bills and a lot of rolling money over week to week. Because we don't talk about what my husband's income is, you guys don't really see me talk about the rollover amount because it'd just be too easy to kind of add everything up and figure out exactly what his paycheck was, which kind of defeats the purpose of not disclosing his income. But just so you know, this money that we have listed here, if you add it all up, that's not what we have in the bank. We have extra money in the bank. We have a cushion in our account, we have an emergency fund, and we also have money that we roll over week to week. So hopefully that makes sense. And the last bill we are going to pay is Audible, which is an audiobook subscription that my husband has that he absolutely loves, and for that we're budgeting $15. So I'm going to grab my phone and we're going to add all of this up and see what we are budgeting for bills this week. So we have $150 plus $135 plus $95 plus $510 plus $50 plus $65 plus $15 is $1,020 in bills this week. All right. Now we're going to move on to cash envelopes. So as I mentioned, we do a lot of our budget in cash. For our weekly spending, we really like to pull out cash, stuff my cash envelopes that I keep in my wallet, and have the cash on hand for when we need it in these various spending categories. And those spending categories are my husband's spending. I take out $40 at the start of every single week and I give it to him, and he can use that for whatever he wants. Likewise, I pull out $40 in cash for myself. And having the spending money just helps keep us on track. We don't feel like we have completely given up absolutely everything in order to pay down debt. I know some people do that. They go scorched earth, gazelle intense, as Dave Ramsey would say. That's just not the business we're in. I know that that is setting us up for failure. So I budget money for us to spend on whatever we want. I budget eating out money and fun money, and that just helps keep us motivated. Because this is a long journey, we didn't want to deprive ourselves of everything that we love to get this debt paid off. That's just the method we've chosen. You do what works best for you. Okay, in addition to my spending and my husband's spending, we also have gasoline. Obviously, we have to put gas in our car. I drive a 2017 Subaru Forester that I absolutely love. It's great on gas, but gas prices are pretty high right now. They've gone up significantly in the last few weeks. And so we are going to budget $40 for gas for the week. I get questions all the time about what does my husband drive. The Subaru is our family car. We both drive the Subaru, but it does sit in the driveway every day for me to use while he's at work. And the reason we're able to do that is because my husband drives a company vehicle. He drives a big work van that he has all of his equipment. He is a plumber. And the company pays for that vehicle as well as the gas in that vehicle for him to drive. So I don't have to worry about budgeting for gas for him to get to and from work. That's all taken care of. All right, next up we have eating out. So we talked at the start of February about how it was my goal not to eat out at all in February, and we have done great with that. We have not eaten out a single time, and I'm so proud of us. But we're human, and so even though it's the goal not to eat out, I still budget the money for it, just in case we slip. So I'm going to budget $25 for that. It'll go into my envelope, and hopefully at the end of the week, it'll still be there. And we can put it towards an extra debt payment. My goal of not eating out in February was so we could take that money and instead pay it to debt. So we'll just set it aside, and if we don't spend it, which is the hope, it'll go to an extra debt payment. And lastly, I have miscellaneous, which is just sort of a catch-all category for anything else that comes up throughout the week. We use our miscellaneous fund quite a bit because, again, I'm human and sometimes I forget to budget for something, or something will come up that I didn't plan for, or maybe we'll be a little bit over budget in one of these other categories, and that helps make up the difference. This is just essentially another buffer to keep us from overspending and having to use a credit card. And for that, we budget $25 as well. So that is it for the cash envelopes. And we're going to go ahead and add those up. So we have 40 plus 40 plus 40 plus 25 plus 25, and that is $170 in our cash envelopes. All right. Now we're going to move on to sinking funds. So sinking funds are essentially little mini savings accounts. I do this in cash because, again, that's just how I like to do my budget. You definitely don't have to do sinking funds in cash. Once again, do what works for you. But the way that I work sinking funds is every week I pull cash out of the bank and I put it into an accordion folder, which I have set aside for just that occasion. And each of my sinking funds has its own tab in this accordion folder, and I have chosen my categories for sinking funds based on the criteria that these are expenses that I know are coming. They're not necessarily super consistent, so that's why they're not part of our typical monthly budget. They happen less often than monthly. Maybe it's an annual thing or just a couple of times a year that we pay these things. And so rather than wait until these things come due and then have to take a large chunk of money out of our monthly budget, I instead save a little bit of money here and there throughout the year so that I have it when those expenses come up. And this is the number one thing that really changed the game with our budgeting. Before we were doing sinking funds, we were sitting down at the start of every week when my husband got paid and looking at all of the things that we had to take care of that week. And we were trying to make that 1 week's worth of income go for these large bills that were coming up that we didn't plan ahead for. So now we plan ahead and it works out so much better. So I have quite a few sinking funds, but I don't add money to all of those sinking funds every week because it would just be too much. Instead, I kind of pick and choose and focus on the ones that are the most pressing and the most important. And it just depends on how much money my husband brought in that week, what our goals are for the week, that sort of thing. So we're actually going to be adding quite a bit to some of our sinking funds this week. We're going to be starting some new sinking funds. Again, that's not necessarily the norm. Sometimes I will just fund 1 or 2 funds. It just really depends, like I said, on the week. So the first fund we are going to be adding money to is anniversary. My husband and I are going to be celebrating our wedding anniversary at the end of March, so we want to have a little bit of money to have a nice meal out to celebrate that occasion. So I'm going to add $25 to our anniversary fund this week. Next up, I have Austin. So for Austin, this is my 13-year-old son. He's going to get $20, and that's essentially his allowance for the week. Next up, I have household. So this is not a sinking fund I have had before. I've always kind of talked about the idea of having a household sinking fund and just never really put it into practice. As I mentioned, I was trying to make this $150 grocery budget stretch way too far. So we're going to start a household sinking fund, and this is going to be for cleaning supplies, for toilet paper, for paper towels, anything that we use in the house that's not getting eaten, essentially. So I'm going to add $50 to this household sinking fund just to kind of get it started. When I did my grocery shopping for this week, because spoiler alert, I typically do my grocery shopping before I sit down and write the budget, and that is sort of the foundation of my budget, and I work from there. I had to buy a ton of household and personal care items. So I'm adding a ton of money to those 2 sinking funds, and essentially going to be pulling it right back out to cover what I spent this week. But for now, we're starting a new sinking fund for household, and we're going to put $50 in there. And I just realized that I'm going to be all sorts of out of alphabetical order, and that's fine. Next, we have personal care, which again is that other sinking fund I'm starting today. This is going to go to cover all of our personal items, things like shampoo, conditioner, hand soap, that sort of thing. I could have combined these household and personal care items into just one sinking fund, but for now I've kept them separate because I want to kind of see what our spending is like for both of these categories. I can always combine them later. We're going to put $50 into personal care as well. Next up, we have campground. We own a camper and we have an annual campground site. Our camper stays there all year round. It's winter storage in the winter, and it's camping and amenities during the spring and summertime. We absolutely love it. It costs us about $1,400 a year, and so rather than waiting until that's due and trying to scramble to come up with $1,400, we just set aside a little bit of money here and there to fund that. So $50 is going into our campground fund. Next, we have car maintenance. This is for oil changes, or if we need new tires, or if we have spark plugs that need to be replaced, or whatever it is. It's just a general car maintenance fund that we add a little bit to. And we try to add money to this consistently so that we have money when something inevitably goes wrong with the car. Next up is holidays. We are right now saving for Easter, which is coming up in April, and we're adding $50 to the holidays fund. Next, we have Robert. So my youngest son gets his allowance, which is $20. My oldest son is over 18, so he doesn't get allowance. But he has been driving Austin to and from school, or at least to school in the mornings, because it's been super cold here and his bus is consistently late, or sometimes it's early, and it seems like he's standing out there for an exorbitant amount of time, and it's just cold. And so one day he asked Robbie if he would take him to school, and Robbie said, I don't mind taking you to school every day. It's no problem. I'll do that. And so because he's driving Austin to school every day, I decided it would be nice to throw him some cash to help put into his gas tank. So for Robert, we're going to do $15 a week to kind of contribute to his gas fund. And lastly, I have YouTube. This is essentially the tax money. When YouTube pays, they don't collect taxes, so I have to set that money aside myself so that when we file our taxes in 2022, we have the money should we need to pay it in. So I take my income and I keep 30% of that back for taxes. So the way I figure that out is I just plug in the income amount, which was $371.89, and I multiply that by 30%, and that's 111 and change. I'm going to round that up, and we're going to keep back $112 for YouTube. And that is it. It is a lot of money going into sinking funds this week. It's not typical. We don't usually do that, but we're doing it this week because we needed to add some bulk to some of our funds. So let's add this up. We got 25 plus 20 plus 50 plus 50 plus 50 plus 25 plus 50 plus 15 plus 112. Oops, that was 113, wasn't it? Let's just add this up again, just in case. Sorry, you guys. 25 plus 20 plus 50 plus 50 plus 50 plus 25 plus 50 plus 15 plus 112. 397. Yeah. So $397 is going to go into our sinking funds. It's a lot, like I said. That's not typical, but we're going to make it work this week because we needed to add money to those new funds and we needed to bulk up some others. So this next section is for our extra debt. This is our debt snowball. We like to make progress on paying down our debt every single week. And so we pay at least $173 every single week to the debt we're currently working on, which is my Discover card. This is the accumulation of all of the minimum payments from the credit cards that we have already paid off throughout this last, year on our debt-free journey. We take those amounts, all of the minimum payments from the old cards, we added them up. We divided that number by 4 so that we could make payments every single week. We like to, make progress on a weekly basis, and that is $173 that we're paying every week without fail to the debt. Sorry, you guys, my camera stopped recording, and I'm not sure where it stopped, so hopefully I haven't missed anything. We were talking about my extra debt, the $173 we were going to put towards that, and then we moved on to extra savings. And I was telling you guys about Savopoly. Savopoly is a fun savings challenge printable I found. And at the start of the month, I did my rolling to figure out exactly how much I needed to save. So let me show you guys what that savings printable looks like. It's just like Monopoly. So you roll a dice, you go around the board, and the property that you land on correlates with how much money you're going to save. So for this week, I'm going to be saving $17 because that's what I rolled. So $17 for Savopoly. And then the other big savings challenge, oops, that's a spoiler for next month. Ignore that. The other big savings challenge we're working on is the 52-week savings challenge. And so what I do for this one is I just pick a square and I save that amount of money. And if I pick a square every single week, the end of the year, I will have saved $1,000. So we're saving $17 for Savopoly, which isn't a huge amount, so I don't need to pick like a super low number for this 52-week savings challenge, but I don't want to pick a super high number either because we have so much going into sinking funds this week. So I'm going to pick $20. We're going to save $20 this week. So we're just going to color that in very sloppily, and we'll transpose that here. So for Savopoly, we said 17 for the 52 weeks. We're going to do 20. And lastly, I'm also saving for a Nintendo Switch. Really, really want a Switch. I cannot wait until I have enough for that. We're saving pretty darn slowly though. We're not putting a ton towards this. We're just going to do $20 for that. And if we add this up, that's $57 going into savings this week. All right, friends, that is it for my budget for this last week in February. Hopefully I'm able to stick to it. It's a lot of money going out this week, but I'm excited about it. Being able to bulk up these sinking funds and make this extra debt payment, I'm ecstatic. So make sure that you come back and check out the cash envelope stuffing video for this budget. You're not going to want to miss it. There's a whole lot of cash getting stuffed this week. That video will be up later this week, so make sure that you subscribe so that you do not miss it. I post new budgeting and lifestyle content here on my channel every single week. I aim for every single weekday. So if that's the sort of content you're interested in and you liked this video, definitely subscribe. Click that thumbs up button. It really helps me out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, friends.